Hey, what's up? It's Autumn, and this is just a thought. Hi, welcome back to Just a Thought. This is a really bittersweet podcast for me today for so many reasons, and I'm just going to touch on a few of them. Number one, this is my last filming in Delaware. So the next time y'all see me, y'all going to be seeing me from this hot Texas air. This Texas heat is going to have me. So that's what's new on the horizon. I'm so excited. I'm about 2 weeks away from that. And, Delaware, I've called home for about 20 years, a little over 20 years. And it's just been an absolutely magical place for me. And part of that is for people like my guest today, who has become a part of my community, my tribe, my village. She has been a friend, a sister. I shouldn't even say been, like it's past tense. She is a sister. She is a part of my village. And I love her dearly. And I am so excited to embark on this topic today that she and I are going to get into, because I think that she is one of the perfect people to be able to do that. Not just because she falls within the community we're going to talk about, but because her heart is just so kind and genuine. I know that the insights she's going to share are going to be a blessing to me and to you. And I know that this conversation is going to offer the mind shifts that we're always looking for. No matter what it is, there's always a different way to look at something. And this is a key topic that there is definitely perspective always needed here. But before I get into that, I want to introduce you to her. And look, I'm pulling up. Y'all gotta bear with
Pulling
me.
up, pulling up.
Shit is normally tighter than this, but I'm reading bios off my phone today, because when I say everything is packed in a box, everything is packed in a box. So there's that. Okay. So I want to get into her bio a little bit and just again express to you who she is. My guest is a mom of three, which the cutest three. I wish we could show pictures of her, but we're not going to do that. But the cutest three, and she calls them the Brownie Bunch, and I love that. And if you saw them, you'd be like, exactly, right on point. She's an IVF mom, and I want to talk about that. I really want to. I know that wasn't necessarily on our list, but it's on this
We're
bio,
gonna talk
and
about it.
I think that's a thing. Two of her babies are twins, and that's beautiful and super cute. Are you a twin? We'll talk about that in a
And
second. Anyway, she's originally from Pittsburgh. She is huge into community leadership and philanthropy. I met her in a leadership capacity. She's been active on nonprofit boards. She is a member, a proud member, let me make sure I put that out there, of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. There it is. She's
incorporated.
a class of 24 Titans graduate, which is again how she and I met. And today we are going to get into the heart of something that is very dear to her and to myself, and that is motherhood. And it's perfect because Mother's Day is coming up this weekend. And so this is the perfect conversation for us to have right on the cusp of that holiday. And we celebrate all things motherhood. Tamara, welcome. Thank
Hey,
you.
girl. Hey.
Wonderful to have you here. Friend, sister, all of the things.
All the
Thank you.
things, all the things. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me. You know, it's so funny as you were kicking off, just talking a little bit about how we know each other. I was reminded that the first time I just considered the leadership program that we were in Delaware, I remember seeing you. And one of the reasons why I knew I would be okay in it and the journey was because I saw you and I was like, who is this vibrant young lady just standing here commanding the room? I'm drawn to her. Let me talk to her. And then we ended up being mentors. It was great. And then one of the first conversations that we had, we stayed on the phone, I want to say for 2 hours. But
Amen.
part of that conversation was talking about motherhood. And so
Mhm.
I am so happy to be your final DE guest as
Yes.
you grow and glow in Texas. I am here for it. I am so excited. And you will certainly be missed, but we will be cheering for you from afar as you go
Yes,
and
ma'am.
grow. So
Yes, ma'am. Listen, and I don't know if that glow gonna be sweat or sun or what, but it's gonna be a glow.
it's going to be a glow. That's all that
It's
matters.
gonna be a glow. So today we're gonna talk about motherhood, which I think is again something that is, and okay, let me back up and say this, which is really interesting. So as part of my packing experience, you go through things and you're sorting out stuff that to keep, throw away, whatever. And some would say that I've been a hoarder since the beginning. I'm not a hoarder. I just have this thing where I'm like, I feel like later on this might have some meaning,
Relevance?
right?
Okay.
We might look visit this again. And I'm glad that I am. So my daughter and I were sitting here and I found like Lamaze class magazines and doctor's appointment visits and brochures
Yeah.
about what was in all of that when I was pregnant with her. And so that just started a conversation. It's like when I first saw her,
Yeah.
what the birthing experience was like, and all the things that I realized I didn't have. You know,
Yeah.
when I started my motherhood journey, my mom, there was, and no, don't get me wrong, there were absolutely stories and things like that,
Sure.
but I didn't have like the artifacts.
Sure.
And I don't think that she and I really got in detail about
Hmm.
all of the changes that you go through as a mother.
Yes. Yes. All the things. All the things.
But it's so important, and I think that if we talked about those things a little
Yeah.
bit more, that would be something that would help us to not be so fearful or
Sure.
to feel so isolated or alone in a lot of spaces as we walk through this journey, because it is a journey.
It is a journey.
And
Absolutely.
and so I'm glad that you and I are having this conversation because I think there's an opportunity to give some insight where people will be like, "Oh my God, that's not just me," or "Oh
Yeah.
my God," right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'm excited about that aspect. So we're
Yeah.
gonna jump right in.
Let's jump right in. Let's jump right in.
And in. So interestingly enough, Nicole Poor, she came on,
Hmm.
and Senator Poor, let me make sure I get her title right,
Yes.
but
Yes.
she also was an IVF mom.
Hmm.
And so, can you just, because there's a lot of mothers, let me put it this way, there's a lot of would-be mothers.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are dreaming of being a mother, but are
Yeah.
struggling with
Yeah.
that, struggling with fighting to hold on to the dream of being a
Yeah.
mother and fighting to let go of the dream of being a, let me say, a biological mother.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, so interesting. So I know we're going to talk about a lot of topics, but one of the things that I want to start with is saying that I'm Tamara Brown. I'm the granddaughter of Joyce Kerr, who is the matriarch of my family. I am also Stacy's daughter. And in both of those relationships, my grandmother, who has been my absolute backbone, and then my mom, who really had an interesting journey in motherhood. They both shaped the way that I saw motherhood. For many years, it's like I knew that my kids were somewhere in the picture. Like at some point, I wanted to
Yeah.
have five. At some point, I wanted to have none. I was like, I'm just in this world. I'll be in this world, me, Abu, existing, because I had really embraced what it meant to be a good aunt, to be
Yep.
a mothering figure to other people. Right. And so I just existed in this place where, you know, those role models were so key into how I was raised, and I just saw myself in that place. So kids became a bit of a back burner. And then at some point, it hits, as it oftentimes does. And I was like, wow, like I think I've healed from my experiences of being a child that had to grow up too soon and be responsible. And I think that I could do this motherhood thing. And I think I'm gonna
Okay.
be okay. Once I had that nugget in my head and like I talked to God and I just sat with it and I saw my life blossom in different ways. I went through the journey of trying to have kids and it wasn't easy. Many women, especially Black women, there are many things that impact our fertility. And one of the things that I've had to grapple with all my life is PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. And so the way
Mm,
that has shown up is that I didn't ovulate regularly, right? So that was one of the
okay.
things. So when I really got serious about wanting to have kids, I just didn't know if I could. And then the thought of thinking about reproductive support was foreign.
Yeah.
We certainly were talking about it in our community.
Right.
It's if it was meant to be, if God wanted you to have kids, you have them. Just keep praying, just keep
Mm,
trying. And I decided, just so you do research on everything else, like I wanted to look into it because
right.
that was a dream of mine. I saw myself, like I saw a calling for me to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom and I didn't want to limit myself to any opportunity. So it really just started with getting interested, going to do some research. I had one good friend, just one friend that I knew who was open about going through the process. She was open about her process, what she experienced. And she doesn't know this. Shout out to my girl, Kia. It was actually hearing her story and seeing her babies grow up that gave me the courage to go and just do my own
Yeah.
research. So I went and learned about what my options were. I was told that nothing's broken. Like, you don't have fibroids, you don't have endometriosis, like you have plenty eggs, everything looks good. You just need to ovulate. It's going to be easy. Like, we'll get you on some medication. You do the do when you need to do the do, and then, you'll get pregnant. So I went into this
Yeah.
thinking like, this is easy,
Easy
right?
peasy.
Easy
Easy
peasy.
peasy.
It was not. It was not. The short story is that it took 3 years of different
Oh my
types of
goodness.
interventions to
Yeah.
have my first child, which is Bryson, my heart and soul. And then later on, 18 months to be exact, went in again and was surprised to have twins. And now 3 years of trying. And then in under 3 years, it went from 0 to 3. So it was
Yeah. It was-
a journey.
So some people can say, "Oh, that was a blink of an eye," but 3 years is a long time. When you're talking about month to month to month, trying you seeing like, "Am I pregnant? Am I pregnant? Am I pregnant?" That's a lot of no's.
Yeah.
How do you? How were you keeping hope and faith
Yeah.
in those spaces?
Yeah. So some of it is faith, right? And some of it
Mhm.
is having a good village of people who supported me. Not to mention that I worked, right? Like a really demanding job. I've always been committed to doing things in the community. So I've always been in the profession and in the hood, as I like to say it,
Yeah.
right? So doing both
Mhm.
things. And then what you don't realize is that you're also donating your body to science, right? So you're taking pills, you're getting injections, you're showing up to all of these appointments that you're trying to fit in your schedule. And so when rejection hits, I think that I was old enough to know that rejection happens, right? And I've seen rejection in my life where there has been a no and then a way has been made. But I'm not going to lie. Once I got to, I think it was the second round of IVF. So I did IUI, then I did 2 rounds of IVF. I was defeated. I'll never forget, I had got my family to sign up to do Family Feud. So I'm also like the ambassador of fun. And we made it to Fast Money. And one of the questions that Steve asked, and I was doing the round, he said, "What is one
Stop.
thing?"
You was actually on Family
Oh,
Feud?
it's on Family Feud. Yes, yes, girl. I feel like we've talked
Nah.
about this. Yes.
Oh, I
Yes,
gotta see that episode. Okay,
yes,
go
yes.
ahead.
Okay. So the question that came in Fast Money was, what was one thing that you thought that you have by now that you don't? And I instantly said kids, not thinking about what the audience was, what the 100 people said, right?
Yeah.
That was what was on my mind. The funny thing about that is, I want to say 2 weeks before we taped that, I just found out that my second round of IVF failed and I was devastated. So it was in my brain. And I remember, if you look at the footage after I said it, I was like biting my tongue because I was embarrassed. That was the first thing that came to mind. And I was also sad in that moment. Um, a month later, I had the opportunity to try again. And I said, this is it. This is going to be the last time. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. I'll continue to be the auntie. Everybody know I love
Yeah.
everybody's kids, right? The kids in my village, they are safe around me. Like, I love them like they are my own. That was going to be my life. And that last try after that taping was when I got pregnant. It was certainly like my friends, it was the village, it was my children's father, just being supportive and encouraging. I think that no one really could understand what it means to go through that unless you're in it, because it's just
Yeah.
so much on you. But if you have a village who supports you and if you have faith, you can get through. And then sometimes the answer is no. I do want to say that. I know plenty of
Yeah.
people that have tried and the answer has just been no. And I was prepared for that too. So if the answer
Yeah.
was no, it was having gratitude and grace in whatever the outcome was going to be. So,
Well, and there's two things. So there's something that I want to ask you about, but and then what you just talked about there on the end about sometimes the answer is no. I agree, and I want to add this is that sometimes the answer is no to the way that we think it's supposed to happen or
absolutely.
how it's supposed to look. And I think that if something is on your heart, right? If God has
Mhm.
put a mothering spirit on your heart, there are children that need to be mothered. And so letting go of this vision that it got to be that I am pregnant and this baby comes from my body, maybe the thing that the no, right? Maybe that's the no, but the yes is adoption. The yes is all the nieces and nephews or the
Mhm.
other community children or mentorship or whatever that looks like, right?
Absolutely.
There may be yeses that look in a different way, but we just got to be open and willing to see that. And those mothering in that way is just as important and
This is
just as
important.
valuable.
Yes.
It's not less at
L-
all.
Let me
Not
tell
less.
you. Really quickly on that,
Mhm.
I just want to touch on that because that is such an important part of my journey.
Yeah.
Having a mother who was not capable of mothering for a good portion of my childhood, what kept me were the women who were around me that loved me and mothered me, right? So it was
Yeah.
and it wasn't just family, grandma, aunties, people who would see me and encourage me day after day, right?
Yeah.
Community members. I have to shout out Miss Conley. Growing up in Pittsburgh, she was a mother. Like I would always look at like moms, right, and see how they engage with their
Yeah.
parents. But welcome me in every Sunday. We'd have dinner. Christmas, if you came over, it doesn't matter who came over. You make an ornament and went on that tree, that ornament would be there.
Mhm.
30. If I went to her house now, I guarantee you my ornament was still there.
That ornament
So
still on there.
people, teachers, I mean, there is a place if your heart can be open to the
Yeah.
no and, right? For women to show up. And what I will say as a child who experienced it, you have no idea how much those little things matter in
Yeah.
helping develop into women. So there is a place
Yes.
for sure.
100%, 100%. So that is hugely important that people understand that. And it's a grieving process. It's a grieving
Mhm.
process of letting go what you imagined and what you thought, but God can replace it with something that is so beautiful and, to your point, so valuable to so many lives, right? Where you was only focused on one kid, you might have the opportunity to be influential in many children's lives.
Right.
You said you talked about a calling, and I was like, oh, let me make sure I circle back to that for a second. Motherhood absolutely is a calling. And I think that each of us are called very specifically to the children that we are charged to raise. There is a reason that these children were given to me versus the children that were given to you, right? You
Right.
got what
Right.
it takes to mother that bunch. I
Right.
got what it takes to mother the
Forgive
bunch that
much.
I got.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
Yes, ma'am.
so so, do you think that the challenges that were associated, or let me put it this way, can you see how the challenges that were associated with you becoming a mother to your group have influenced how you mother them?
Yeah, absolutely. Whew. It is really hard to talk about my kids and not get emotional. Honestly, they are, you know me. And for the audience, for people who are meeting me for the first time, I do believe in living fully. So, as an individual, as a person in relation to people, and then also in these hats that we wear as mothers. So, I try to live life fully. But when I
Yeah,
think about every decision, like what is key to every decision that I'm making, whether it is how I'm managing my own mental health and my own self
yeah,
care, the work that I do, it centers around my kids and the type of future that I want them to have. And so it's really
yeah,
hard to not talk about them without getting emotional because I completely agree. They were the kids that God sent for me. So, to your question, where this really comes in, uh, my twins, so after going through the IVF journey, my twins were born 3 months premature. So they had a long stay in NICU. My daughter, who is amazing, she was born with
beautiful.
yes, Bailey girl, thank you. She was born with the worst form of brain damage that you could have. She went 4 minutes
Mm,
without getting proper oxygen. Um, and we didn't know what the prognosis was gonna be. I was ready,
yeah,
but if we had to get the minivan, whatever the case may be, right? Like she
right,
was gonna be
right.
loved and cared for. And again, miraculously, if you met her today, her brain just healed over all of the damage. You wouldn't even know that to know her. But for the first 2 years of her life, it was everything. We're like, is she breathing
Crazy.
differently? Is that
Yeah,
foot like you mean you're looking at everything? And then her twin brother was born with premature lungs. And so when you saw his little lungs in a picture, it's like they look like tree roots, but they didn't look fully
yeah,
formed. And again, he had to take breathing treatments for 2 years, day, twice a day. And I say this to say that when in my situation where I almost lost my life in pregnancy, right? And we'll talk about for another podcast what that
yeah.
means, especially for
With
Black women.
mortality.
And then seeing your kids barely make it and showing up for 90 plus days in NICU, um, it does change how you think about parenting. What I'll say is the biggest lessons are I have 3 kids, and I always talk about this. Parenting is a science. It is like the biggest science experiment, right? Like you are observing other people. You have all these hypotheses on like what you think's gonna happen, how you're gonna be a parent, what you think is the right thing. You test it, you fail. You might win at some things. It might work for some kids.
Yeah,
It may not work for another. So I
right,
just feel like I've
right.
been going through the science experiment. And the biggest lesson that I've learned is that while all 3 of them have the same inputs, they are loved fully in their family. the way that they are is just different, right? Like
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
no right way to raise a group of people. You have to look at them as individuals and the collective. Here are the collective
Right.
rules. And then also, I know this is going to apply a little differently to this baby because this
Right.
baby isn't going to hear what I told the baby to hear. And so I think the biggest thing has just been, how do you honor them at this age as individuals? And what I'll say is, I
Yeah.
felt as a kid, we weren't necessarily like honored as individuals. It was just kind of kids are kids, right? Like you don't get in grown folks' business, like don't talk back. I am really intentionally thinking about, here's the baseline, but like how do I honor them as kids? I don't know. How do you feel as you think about how you've had to raise your own?
I will say this, and I want to call that out. I love that you talk about honoring
Hmm.
them. And you're right. That is a huge generational difference. When we were kids and even before us, is this idea of kids are kids and they're seen and not heard. And, adults sort of sit higher than kids, like they are separate beings, but children are little humans, right? They
All
have
humans.
just as much worth as anybody else. And so, yeah, this idea of honoring them is beautiful. And I can see where that level of intentionality and really seeing them could be birthed out of, right, this difficulty in getting them and really feeling like, and not that anybody is not taking their time with their children. Sometimes after tragedy or heartache or hard things, you have a different appreciation for things that
Absolutely.
should be natural or no, and I
Sure.
put that in quotes,
Yep.
right? I put that in quotes. My youngest, Clayton, was born after we lost a child. And so I call Clayton my miracle baby
Right.
because he came after such heartbreak.
Yeah.
And so, not that my two oldest before that were not special or not important, you know what I mean? Any of that thing, but
Absolutely.
it's like he was like the sunshine after the rain. And that
Right.
just brought very different feel and tone to that pregnancy than from the
Hmm.
other two. I want to back up for a second because you talked about some of the things, the decisions that you've decided to make. And I know you and I were kind of talking about this a little bit. And this is for me a really emotional spot, is the decisions that we make for our children and
Yeah.
what that looks. So a little bit different story for me. I had my daughter when I got pregnant when I was 19 and gave birth to her at 20.
Mhm.
So I was a baby
Right.
myself. And so she and I grew up together essentially. And the bad part of that is that she got a mother that was also growing up just as she
Sure.
was.
Right.
So you the adult? Yes, I'm the
That's
adult.
adult. Right.
Allegedly, someone said that I'm the one that's in charge. Lies. But I've loved both and I will say the two of them, the two oldest, right? They got a version of me that was very different. I had Clayton when I was 30.
Mhm.
So the two oldest got a version of me that was different than the
Yeah.
youngest. And they will be out on that. They'd be like,
Yes.
he, you, your childhood versus our childhood, not the same.
Not the inner fight. They're like, it is not the same. Not the same.
It is not the same. She not the same mom.
Right.
But there are mistakes, right? The mistakes that I made that my children had to live with and are still living with. And it wasn't obviously my intent. I love my children fiercely.
Sure.
And I just didn't know any better. Like I said, I was 19. I just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I was doing the best that I could with what I had.
Mhm.
And there came a time when there was a level of like rebellion. Now you haven't reached this part yet, right? Because your babies are still little. Well, not little, but
They're
smaller than my
little,
baby.
but listen, the teenage phase of all three of them, it is haunting me already. But go ahead, continue. Go ahead. The rebellion. Tell me more.
So they got to this place of rebellion against me because they couldn't, it's like a weird space, right? They couldn't understand why I made the decisions that I
Yeah.
made, but they were reaping the consequences of those decisions, and the consequences were not pleasant.
Yeah.
So it was like, this is your fault,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And there were things I couldn't explain because kids don't need to know everything all at one time in certain places. So I had to be the villain in
Yeah.
the story. Like I just
Hmm.
had to be.
Yeah.
And I would, some of it rightfully so.
Sure.
Some of it I truly was the villain. That was wrong and I shouldn't have
Yep.
did it. And wow. And some of it was like, ooh, I'm just taking this on the chin.
Right.
So I had to trust the process, right? That I, as I got better, that I would do better, and that in the end, by the time that they got to be adults, that they would look back and they would be able to have grace and understanding for me as a mother, that
Yeah.
I love them and that I, you know what I mean. But
Mhm.
that was a that was a this, right?
Fi
A, a, a fingers crossed and a
Please, Lord. Yeah.
please,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus, please. But I will say this, that when there came a point that my kids, they, like I said, that they rebelled and they didn't want to be with me. Like, right? They were like, I don't want to be around. Like, this is too much.
Yeah.
And I had to fight back for that relationship.
Yeah.
I had to apologize. I had to be humble. I had
Yeah.
to ask them for patience and for grace. I
Yeah.
had to, and thankfully my kid, we were in a space that they were willing to come back and to work with me in that. And I had to be a woman of, you know, of my word to do the
Yes.
things that I said I was going to do. And when my son, my oldest son, he went away to the Marines and he graduated, and I was so proud.
Yeah.
Like, when he went to see him, he went away for, like, you know, months, and then to see this like man that he had transformed
Sure.
into,
Yeah.
all the things he had gone through, and to see this man, and I was just like, like, I mean, you could have told me nothing about this boy. And so he we got a chance to talk and reconnect. We're laughing and all the different things or whatever. And then, you know, they were going to be shipped out. So he
Yeah.
didn't get to come home. It was during COVID, so they couldn't let them go home. But he pulled me, he wanted to have a conversation with me to the side,
Mhm.
and to his stepdad that raised him. That is his dad.
Right.
And so he conversation with him. He didn't want to have a conversation with me. And he pulled me to the side and he said, you know, you're my best friend. And like, for your
Yeah.
son, your grown son, look at you. There's been so much, so much, so much.
Some
He said, Zane, which is his stepfather, taught me how to be a man,
Yeah.
but you taught me how to be a leader.
Ugh,
And I was,
girl. Girl.
and I knew in that moment that
Yeah.
everything was worth it,
Was
and that
okay.
he was able to see me, good, bad, right, wrong, or like, right, like that,
Yeah.
and that's what leadership is. It's
Yeah.
about accountability. So the man that he is
Yeah.
came out of the mistakes that I made,
Yeah.
and the faith was
Oh,
paid off.
yeah.
But that was,
But it is how it just shapes how I think so many of us exist. So the things that come to mind when I hear that is just, first of all, empathy. And so sometimes I'm a little triggered when I hear people say, and I get it, right? We're breaking generational curses. Obviously, we are learning how to do things differently, but we're still
yeah,
gonna mess up. That's the thing,
yeah,
right? There is motherhood, it's all an experiment, right? And we are gonna try our best with what we have. And sometimes and I think about two things that I want to touch on. So one, even when I talk about my mom, right? Like I am the daughter of Stacy, and my mom, unfortunately, she was a teen mom, not that matter because she was an amazing mom, but she also got wrapped up in the 90s crack epidemic,
yeah,
right? The target in being targeted in an urban community and trying to navigate what it meant to grow up and deal with the pressures of the world. Alcoholism and drugs were a part of her story. And I
yeah,
always tell people because some folks will give me this, oh my gosh, I feel so, and I get it, right? Like I get that like for
yeah,
some people it's hard when you're thinking, "Oh, I feel so bad for you because, your mom X, Y, and Z." But I always say there's two sides to every story. So yes, my mom had to deal with that. But my mom was also a fierce advocate for education. She did not play when it came to her
okay.
kids. She did not play. She was like, "No, my daughter will be gifted tested. I will go up to school. I will have conversations with anyone. I want to make sure that I put her in positions that have experiences, going to museums, going to libraries, all the things." She made me go skiing. I was like, "I don't wanna go skiing. That's not what we do, right? I'm from
You,
Pitt." She said, "No, you're gonna go skiing." So there's this duality that when I think about like life, like yes, there were some things that I had to do right early. Like I had
yeah,
to learn how to grow up and take care of myself, be responsible, which is one of my core values, take care of my brother. Like all those things actually shape the woman that I am. Extremely responsible, extremely loving, extremely forgiving. So while there was the difficult things, there were these other things that I saw in her: fierce advocate for education. She was an entrepreneur. My mom had dreams she wanted to do hair, opened up her own salon, operated it until she retired. Addiction and all, like it didn't stop her, right? That taught me I could do these things, right? She was an avid runner. I saw my mom running around like the neighborhood and I was like, okay, never this
That's
wasn't
Tracy better than
consistent
me because
in
I'm
my
say stay running.
but here I am a couple years later, right, in my adulthood doing half marathons, 10Ks, all the things,
Yeah,
which really is a callback. Like if I think about it, right, and think about the fact that we are going to get something wrong, right? But if we
yeah,
can both see the good and the bad and have empathy and understand that like our
yeah,
parents were really just adapting to what was around them, like how do we understand that, forgive and grow and move forward? It helps us be better. And listen, it's not easy. I'm not saying that as I'm
no,
sitting here talking to you that having forgiveness and being able to see bigger picture and seeing two sides of a story is easy. It's not. It's a
yeah,
journey. But we're not going to get it right all the time. I think the other thing too, we're talking about decisions, right? And so I think, actually, I know that I have made decisions that people will not understand. And, or for people that I'd say like onlookers who like admire you, right? Like they look at you, they see what they see on social media, they think they know you. Maybe they're even friends, right? In a circle they see you in a certain way and they don't understand like the deep things that are going on inside of you or the experiences that you've had to, work against because they only see what you put on social media or
right,
when you
right,
see them, right? And so I've had to make decisions to that again, center with my kids being center. It's are these the right decisions? I hope they are. But what I will say is that they aren't light decisions. It's not like you wake up and you say, I'm going to make a difficult decision, right? That will uproot or change, how my kids experience comfort. It's not.
yeah,
It's years. It's thoughtful. It is weighing the pros and cons. And especially when you have gone through hell and high water to have the babies, right? As an
that,
IVF
yeah,
mom, right? And seeing
yeah,
my kids almost not make it. It's you think
right,
I'm gonna just not make a decision and not be thoughtful. I'm thoughtful about every
right,
decision that I make, right? And so
absolutely,
I hope and pray, and I love hearing your story because we don't know how our experiment and hypothesis works
yeah,
out long
it's gonna
term,
burn out.
right? And so hearing your story and hearing other stories like yours encourages
Yeah,
women like me who have younger kids or have to make
yeah,
decisions. It helps us know that the story ends up playing out the way it does. And sometimes it could be really beautiful.
yeah. I think that, and here's going to be my question to you is it's this idea of forgiveness because again, and I know that I told my story from a perspective of being 19 and young and just and making poor decisions based in youth. But I think that, no matter what age, no matter married, single, divorced, black, white,
Yeah.
whatever, American, whatever, right?
Right.
That we're going to be faced with challenges in this motherhood journey. And not every decision is going to turn out the way that we want it to turn
Yeah.
out. And that you mentioned the word forgiveness, which is so important because
Yeah.
I spoke from the perspective of desiring to have my children forgive, but there is an aspect of that requires you forgiving yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so my question for you in that is what does forgiving yourself, and this is not to imply that
Yeah.
you've done again, even
Sure.
for the small things,
For the small listen, trying to
things,
get out the door and having a morning where you're yelling at the kids, right?
right,
Like there are.
right. What's that process of forgiving yourself? What does that look like? How are you giving
Yeah.
yourself grace?
That is such a good question. When I hear questions, like I start to think about stories, right? Being in community with like other mothers. There's a couple things for me. So one, I lead with just like the values and like what my intent is, right? So like the values that I want to bring in the family,
Yeah,
responsibility, community, love, joy,
yeah,
faith. There are certain tenets that are core that um there are moments, big and small, where I'm
yeah,
outside of the
yeah.
values, right? Like there like it could be
Right,
again, the little thing where it's like work was stressful and or I have a meeting, it's ushering 3 kids out the door right before a big
right,
meeting. I'm
right,
yelling, right? And then I'm in the
right,
car thinking like the reason why it's not because of them. It's because I am stressed out about what this meeting
Right.
is. Or it could be bigger things. I forgot something. Honestly, it's on the calendar. I forgot something, which then may inconvenience them. So I think the thing is like one being rooted in the values, right, of what my intent is. And then when I go outside the values, acknowledging that and just understanding that not everything is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes it sits within me, right? So as mothers, I think sometimes there's a lot of things that influence us and all the things that we need to do to be perfect. Like I have come to grips that like I'm doing and the best that I can do is actually really good. So it's not bad, right? But I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect and like
Yeah.
that just doesn't happen. So that's one of the things. The other thing that I have that has helped me in terms of forgiveness is knowing that when things go wrong, the only thing that we can do next is make a decision to be better. So, like, when things go off
That's
course, you're just one decision away from course
yeah.
correcting, right? And learning
Right.
from it and not repeating the same
Right.
things. So, I say this
Right.
to my mamas, if you always feel stressed and burned out and you feel like you can't regulate yourself, like you need to probably step away and figure
Yeah.
out how self-care can be embedded within your life. Now, I know we talk about this and that doesn't necessarily mean going to the spa. It could mean being grounded in your faith. It could mean doing some breathing exercises. It could mean
Taking a
talking to your
walk.
all the things. We have to learn from our patterns that are causing harm and then just make a decision to do something different. Yeah.
No, that's really good. That's good. I think one of the things I'll add to that is because everything, you know what I mean, is like perspective, right?
Yeah.
And the things that we do, and then there's the things that we think, and there's, you know, I mean, all those things kind of come together to create whatever this outcome is going to look like. And a huge part, you mentioned perfection, this idea of perfection.
Yeah.
And it's like, but where'd that come from? Because we so
Mhm.
busy looking at what somebody else is doing, how somebody
Mhm.
else is, so how somebody else is showing up in their kid's life, and
Yep.
we think that we're supposed to look like without realizing first and foremost, they are being the mother for the children that they,
Yes. Yes.
so they are the perfect mother for them, not
Right.
necessarily children in your circumstances. So that comparison thing has got to stop.
Yes, you
And
have.
I remember my mother-in-law, she was a stay-at-home mother.
Mhm,
She was
mhm.
like the bacon cookies type mom, right?
Yeah.
And which is beautiful, amazing. That's not my ministry.
It's your ministry.
I, I don't want to be at home
I'm
baking
going
these cookies.
Imma buy it.
Listen,
I'll cut the check. I'll order it. Do a
Costco, I
little
got a Costco card for a reason. I'll pick
right.
up these cupcakes. Y'all be good to go. I'm
Good
not
to
making
go.
these cupcakes from scratch.
Right.
So, but I felt an incredible amount of guilt behind that.
Yeah.
I was in public safety. I worked shift
Right.
work. There's a lot of things that I missed. There's a lot of things that I wasn't able to show up for. And thank God I had a community and village. But I truly felt like as a mom, I was failing because
Yeah.
of that. And then I had to realize the mother that I am instilled different values in my
Yes.
kids
Yeah.
and exposed different things, protected them from different things, gave them access to different things.
Yep.
And that's what my kids need. So I think part of that forgiveness journey is releasing yourself from the expectations of other
Yes. Wait, and here's a cheat code.
people's.
Yes, and here's the real cheat code. So completely agree, right? And I love how you frame like you are the mother to your kids that you needed to be. And also, like, we don't know all the things, right? Like, part of this experiment is that you got to get data and input from other places. Here has been my cheat code. I, as a girl's girl, and have many friends, both aunties and mothers, what I've realized is that just how your friends play a different role in your life, there are
Mhm.
different mommy archetypes that I learned from. So, for
Yes.
example, okay, I agree with you. I am not the baking mom. What I am, I'll be the first one to sign up on the sign up genius. I'll bring something. I'll make sure that the things get done. I'll cut the check,
Okay.
right? But I'm not the baking mom. But I have a mom who's a baking mom. I have the
Okay.
mom that has the kids in all the different activities, like all the things.
Yeah.
So if I know I need an activity, I'm looking for an activity. No, I don't even have to do the research. She knows, right? I have the mom whose kids are early investors and she's talking to me about investment strategy and how she's getting her daughter involved in these different things. Great auntie, I'm ready to do this. Here's the
Right.
input, right? And then I have the homeschool moms, like actually homeschool moms who deeply ingrained in like curriculum. Summer comes, I need a list of things to do because I like to be very active with the kids. But I also like my kids to play and learn through play and experimentation and being out in the community and
Yeah.
volunteering and touching things. So, but if I want a curriculum, I really got to figure it out. I'm going to call my friends. So the cheat code is understanding that for me, you don't have to be all the things. You should always endeavor to be what your kids need you to be. So I do think that there is a responsibility for me that not to be lazy in my approach, which feels comfortable for me because what
Mm.
my kids might need might be outside of where my comfort zone is.
Your
And so,
comfort zone.
correct.
Yes, that's
So,
good.
like,
That's
I
good.
can expand, right? And
Right.
also, just like work, if I am not the talented person in it, I'm going to draw resources from my
Yeah.
people to make sure that I can
Yeah.
deliver the best that I can. And guess what? I'm still going to get it wrong. So that's the thing. Right? So the cheat code for me is
She said, even after all that.
and all that, right? After all that. Because sometimes I think that this is going back to an earlier statement, we hold a lot of the feelings of perfection inside of us and based on what we
Yeah.
see. Our kids, if you turn to any one of our kids and you
Girl,
ask them, what do you need? Do you feel loved? What do you think about your mom or your dad? They are
they
going
said, I
to think,
love them.
yes. But we know we have a responsibility to
Yeah.
love is the anchor. We have the
Right.
responsibility to raise them and to teach them and to do all the things. But a lot of that sits within us. But the cheat code is get you a good village. If
I
you
love
are
that.
one of my girl moms, one of
I
my
love that.
moms or dads, because I also have dads too
Yeah.
that have certainly influenced my parenting. Thank you. Thank you, sis. Thank you, bro.
Yes.
The Brownie
Yes.
Bunch is so much better because of you.
Listen, so much better. And you are so right. And community is so huge and important. You just said something that just took my brain in. I'm gonna be a squirrel for a second because I
Yep.
think
Let's
it's
go.
important. About you said, and my dad's. So I believe very strongly that fathers matter. I know this is about
Oh, we
motherhood,
can, yes, we can talk about that.
but I believe that fathers are so important and that one of the best things that a mother can do for her children, and the same thing vice versa, one of the best things that a father can do for his children is to allow fatherhood, allow
Yes.
that
Yes.
relationship to encourage, to make room for, to
Mhm.
honor, respect, to love, to
Absolutely.
appreciate, whether you're with that person or not.
Yep.
And I think that that is one place that we as mothers sometimes
Mhm.
can fail in
Yep.
because we see our relationship with that man as his relationship with his children, which are
Right.
two very different
Two
things.
different things.
Very different things.
Oh, we gotta talk
He
about this one.
I cannot like you and you cannot like me, and we
Yes.
love the heck of these kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that is true and real and
Yeah.
deserves to be honored and respected. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So let's talk about this. First of all, I started off by saying who was my grandmother, who was my mom. Also got a shout out. I am the daughter of Tim. Okay.
Good.
And for a very long period of my life, my dad raised me as a single father. And I
Praise me,
remember,
father too.
yeah,
Good.
see, definitely a girl dad. There was this one time, I actually forgot about the story, and it was, you triggered it. One Mother's Day, I remember I bought my dad a card, and it was like in the card section, it was like a Mother's Day card for fathers. Because at the time, he was playing both roles. Now, as an adult woman with experience, it's probably something that I regret, right? Like he also got a Father's Day card, but
Right.
the reason why I say that I regret that, not necessarily regret it, I think I look at it differently, not no regrets, because what I did not want to do in that moment was like disrespect all the things that my mom had done, when she
Yeah.
could do the things that she did. But I have a deep respect for fatherhood. And I talk to my dad at least every other day. And if there's not one thing when I thought about having kids was that it is so important that yes, as a mom, you show up in this way, but you have to um, have desire and want for and give room for the father to be able to have the relationship and the experience with the kids. And I'm talking about not just being the person who is like laying down the law, but I'm talking about showing love, showing up,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
supportive, all the things that we do
Yeah.
too. And so
Right.
that's intent, like it is intentional and there's intentional space that like I value. Certainly when I think
Yeah.
about the Brownie Bunch and their relationship with their father, it's an expectation. I realized too that there was a point in raising the kids where you naturally just take over all the things, right? Something's
Yeah.
not done, you step in. The kid wants to snuggle, you automatically go to snuggling. It's the there you have to be intentional about making space. And then I think when fathers maybe can't see themselves in it, and I'm using this language because like I know different men see it in different ways, like maybe they
Yeah.
can't see their position in it to step back to make sure that you are enforcing the space so that they can step in and show the
Mm.
love, the supports to their kids in the same way that mothers do. Completely agree with you. I am so excited that the Brownie Bunch is that like does things with the kids, like all the things,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
lives in that space because it's so important and it matters. And I think for any mom, whether you are in marriage, because sometimes you can still be in marriage or in relation, but not make the space
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
and like not
Exactly.
make the space right for the dad to dad. And then also too, like the dad may not understand how to like step in the space. Like this happens often, right? So it can happen in that, it can happen in separated relationships,
Right. Right.
co-parenting relationships, but you have to make the space. Yeah.
You have to. Dads are so
Yeah.
important. So many reasons, and giving your children that is a gift to
Yeah.
them. It is a
Yeah.
gift to them. They need, they deserve, they want, and it is no slight to you because they love their dad.
Yeah.
It is no slight to him because they love their mom.
Yep.
They're supposed
Yes. Supposed to.
let
My
them
gra-
love their dad.
yeah.
Like let them.
My grandma
Um,
always said, she said, that's their job too. I'm like, yes, I know, girl. If I pray for three things, like one, I want my kids to have very happy, healthy relationships with both their parents. I think that's important.
yeah,
And for that, your parents need to be happy, healthy, and all the things. I pray that anyone who touches them, like in their community, is coming from love and they will not do any harm to them. And I pray that as them as individuals, as they continue to grow and mature, they are able to see both who they are as individuals, the village around them, right? And the love that God has for them so that they can do all the things. But certainly central in all of that is in order for them to be happy, healthy babies, they need to see happy, healthy humans, parents, human
yeah,
parents.
yeah. Around
So,
them. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, 100%. Let's talk about creating new legacy,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk about what that looks like. So I think the goal, right? The goal, I shouldn't say I think, right? We know that the goal is always to sort of capitalize on what we know, make it better, and then to the next thing. And then hopefully that they will see the good and the bad, what worked, what didn't. They do changes some things, and then they'll get better and
Yeah.
continue to get better and so forth. What does that look like? It's almost like a touchy situation because I don't want to even make my mom feel like, what exactly was it that my mom did that I was like not doing that? Because that's not the spirit or the vibe that I'm even going or thinking about or going that way. I guess this is a different way of saying it. The world that our mothers prepared us for is not the same world that we're preparing our children for. So some of the things that were given to us are not necessarily appropriate to give to our children for the world that they are receiving. How are you navigating what stays and what goes?
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, also challenging. I have to always go back to go forward, but I talk to my grandmother at least 3 times a week. And she told me stories about what it meant to grow up, be a mother, or first of all, be a woman, right? Who was born in the 40s, then be a mother, and all the things that she had to grapple with, which feel different, right, than what my mom did, and obviously what I have. So
Yeah.
now going back to say, thinking about how my grandparents, mom had to prepare the kids for the world, thinking about technology and how fast the world is moving, what I keep coming back to is what are your values? And I know for the kid, like I remember having conversations about the things that I valued. And there's all the things in the world, but like core to like my being, I didn't have those until I was probably in college, right? They got refined over time as I became a woman. And I think it was like maybe a little over a year ago, I was looking at my kids grow up and they're in this age of they're not babies anymore. They're not toddlers. They're in elementary school. to have their own little thoughts in the world, and different things are coming
Yeah.
at them, and they're looking at the news, things are flashing on the internet, they're asking me questions about, I'm like, how do you know about that, right? And I was like, this is the time where I need to really sit, like actually talk to them about values. And so I made them do some worksheet that talked about different values, had them to connect it to themselves, like why it mattered for them. And I was surprised for all three kids, they were different. And the reason
Yeah.
why I started there is because if I can reinforce with my children that they are loved by their parents, by their community, right? Foundational, that they have faith, right?
Yeah.
They are connecting to faith in whatever way they see it, right? But they understand who God is. They're growing in the religion that we are teaching them, but they're also exploring what that means to them. If I can have this grounding, it doesn't matter. Like the world is going to hit them at some point, at different
Yeah.
points. At
Yeah.
some point, folks are going to look at my beautiful Black boys differently.
Yeah.
At some point, someone is going to look at my daughter and say something about the way she looks, right? And if I can get them at this age to really understand like who they are and what they value so that they can come back to center, I feel like they have a better chance at navigating what will inevitably come. And here's the thing, I am committed, and this is probably because of my upbringing of keeping my kids as long as possible because they're going to grow up. They're growing up and they will eventually
Yeah.
experience the world in the ways that they need to. So I'm not trying to force them into these adultified situations. But I do
Right.
know that they will come. And just recently, there was an experience, and I won't go into the story, but I was having a conversation with my son, and he was talking about how he was in conversation with a kid who was trying to get him to say a word, but isolate a part of the word that was a racial slur. Now, of course, he's not hearing it in this way because for him, he's
Listen.
just hearing the word. So he's
Yeah.
not making the connection point. And as I'm listening to the conversation, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Tell me
Yeah.
more. Tell me more. How'd that conversation come
Right.
about? And so then having to go back and explain to him what was happening, like these things will come. But here's the thing, he knows he's loved, he knows his
Yeah.
values, he is very firmly confident in his identity, right? That when those
Yeah.
stories come and when those situations come, I'm not saying he wasn't impacted. I'm not saying he
Right.
didn't get emotional. I'm not saying it
Right.
wasn't a difficult conversation for me to navigate as a mom, right? Trying to like right size it to like right size the conversation to like my
Right.
elementary school
Right.
child, where inside of me I'm like, wait a minute, what's going right? But at least we have a central place to go to, which are our
Yeah.
values. So that's the best that I have on them. This world is, listen, as
I love
adults,
that.
yeah, go ahead.
No, no, no. I'm saying I know I love that. I love that you are how you are preparing them is by first and foremost ensuring that they know who they are. That
Mhm.
identity is right. And that gets lost. We're so busy trying to tell them, don't do this,
Right.
do your homework, do that. But what about the person that's underneath all? They got all these
Yeah.
things that they know what not to do, all these rules to obey and not obey, but then don't know who am I? What do I value? What's important? None of that.
And how that will evolve too, right? Because listen, if I had them do their values now, they may shift, right? So even understanding that those things evolve as they get more life experience, but they have a center. So anyway, go ahead.
No, so I think that's good. And I wish where were you 20 years ago?
Oh no, just trying to think, probably trying to have kids. No, not wanting to have kids. But and here's the thing, like Autumn still in all of that, right? That is, you hit on something earlier. That is what feels aligned with who I am as a person. So it's easier for me
Yeah,
to think about. I got through life having some really difficult lessons early on, but also
yeah,
knowing like who I am, how God has worked for me, and not letting those things shut me down. That has kept the energy.
yeah.
Like one of my values is joy. Hopefully you feel it through the screen, right? And
That's
so it is
always,
easy for me to
always.
it's easy for me to talk to my kids about values. You know what's difficult? What's difficult is you have I was a gifted student. Learning came easy for me, right? So the way that I
Like,
approached school, like learning was just wasn't difficult, right? There were like my middle school years, it was a little rocky because I was going through all the things and I was just not applying myself, but learning was not difficult. What is difficult for me is okay, if this isn't an A and it's like a B minus, like how do we wrestle with that? And like now sitting with
Yeah.
it, right? So there are, yes, it is easy for me to think about values and things that build you up. But then I have, again, other things that are more difficult for me to, okay, now I got
Right.
to wrap my head around the way you learn is different. So we got to do the things. But again, that's why you have the village. There are moms that I know that I'm like, okay, so yeah,
Help me get this together. I need perspective. I need support. I need
need
encouragement.
perspective.
Yeah.
Give me
That
perspective.
is really important. You're not wrong. And that is a word of advice, is to make sure that no matter where you are in your mothering journey, to surround yourself with other mothers who have the ability to see what you can't see, or who have who are further along in their journey, who
Absolutely.
are just now. I think that everybody has the ability to give some fresh perspective. And you just get, look, I'm on the, I say on the end of it,
It never ends,
but
girl.
my kids are older, but you are just giving me fresh perspective with that. And I think that the one thing that I wish, and you can tell me what yours is, the one thing that I wish that someone would have told me before I became a mother, like they tell you all the stuff like, oh, they're not gonna sleep through the night, and
Right.
they tell you all this but no one ever told me that you never stop mothering.
Yeah.
And you get in the society, we get this crazy thought process of, okay, 18, you out. That's it. I'm done.
Peace.
No,
Yo,
no,
yo.
ma'am.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
ma'am. My daughter is
Wait, it doesn't work that
28
way? I think I
old.
still was thinking it worked that way. It doesn't work that way?
It does not. My
My
daughter
dad
is
was like,
28 old.
yeah.
And I'm still, it just, your motherhood changes. Now I'm less of like an authoritative,
Yeah.
but now I'm more of like a coach.
Right.
Right. So I'm still mothering. I'm still like making sure you're okay. I'm still worried about you, all those kinds of
Yeah.
things. But my daughter cracked me up. She called me and was talking about something. And I said, what are you, what? And she goes, I need an adult. I said, you are an
I think
adult.
it's all,
And she
yeah,
goes,
the adult.
a premium adult. I said,
Premium adult is
this is
top
how I
tier.
feel about
Premium adult is top tier.
you. Never stop.
You never saw what I wish someone would have told me. And first of all, sage advice. Like I, again, having mothers along the journey, like I watched you. I was just with another friend who is a mother of an adult daughter, and seeing their relationship has been pretty dynamic. So again, like we
Yeah.
learned. So I think for me, it was the how I think that people tend to tell you things, the word isn't negative, but it's like the cautionary things, right?
Yeah.
Oh, like you said, they won't sleep through the night. Like these things are challenging. But I really wish someone would have more so reinforced, you actually have it in you. You will figure it out. Um, when I think
Yeah.
about how much I
Yeah.
stressed out about, will I be an okay mom? Because there were periods in my
Yeah.
life where like my mom wasn't able to show up in the way that like I needed her to. I turned out okay. Again, not realizing, but God gave me this community of mothers that like
Yeah.
really shaped who I was. Or the kids are going to be sick, they won't sleep through the night. But yes, that happens. But most of the time, like you are crushing it at
Right.
figuring out everything else. I think like shifting this mindset that yes, it's difficult. And listen, for another
Yeah.
podcast, right? It is the reinforcement that you will figure it out. Everything that you need is in you. And if you choose, you can have a community of people who will support you along the way. It is, yes, you will make mistakes. No, everything won't be perfect. Some of that stuff will sit within you, but like writ large, you're crushing it. Like,
Crushing
like
it.
that is the
Feeling
thing.
it.
Like
Yeah.
if you pan out, I've seen so many mothers, and I'm talking about, listen, sacrifice. They have sacrificed for their kids, right? In ways that I'm sure when they were choosing to work, or they couldn't be there for that event, or they didn't have the money to do X, Y, and Z, that they probably stressed out about those things. And those
Yeah.
same children grow up to be amazing human beings.
Amazing.
Or you give it all that you can, and you've done all the things, and you had your kid and all these things, and then your kid still ends up being their own person and choosing a
For the
life
most
that
part.
you may not even agree with. Like they went down a path that you may personally be disappointed in, but guess what?
Right.
Like at some point, your kids are going to develop into their own people and make their own decisions. Even if you give them the best inputs, they're going to do their
Right.
own thing, right?
Right.
So I think that it is again, I was an IVF mama, and maybe you thought that you could have babies in a natural way, and it didn't happen. But guess what? You tried something, you got these babies, you still gave birth. It turned out to be okay. If for whatever reason it was your dream to be a mom in a way where you thought you were mothering your own kids and that did not work out for you, that it is going to be okay. And that you may have a grieving process. But if you
Yeah.
choose to mother, there are so many kids that will benefit from your love, and it will
Yeah.
be okay. And you will
It
crush it
will.
as an auntie, you will crush it as a mentor, you will crush it as someone who is showing love to a kid like me, who I 1,000% know I would not be where I was at if women did not choose to pour into me. So again, if you're
Yeah.
watching this podcast, as you should, thank you. So that's the thing, girl. I mean,
I love that.
that would be that is the one thing that I would want to know, that you will end up doing well and that everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay. It
Yeah.
all comes together.
It all comes together.
Um, So, first of all, thank you so much
Thank
for spending
you.
this time with me, for going down this journey with me, for sharing and being
Yeah.
vulnerable about some of the things that your path has looked like, for making space for my journey. I appreciate that. And just again, you being the period on this chapter in Delaware for me. This I can't think of a better way that I would have wanted to do that. So thank you for this. You have talked about things that have absolutely inspired me and made me think about motherhood in a different way. And so I appreciate that. And I know it's
Yeah.
going to be a blessing to other people who are going through this journey as well. The way that I end this podcast with everyone is always to ask them the same question. And
Before
that is,
before you ask me the final question,
okay,
can I give my just a final thought really quickly before the
yes,
pre-question? Okay.
yes,
So Autumn, this is for you. Now this is motherhood. We're talking about mothering, and then there's like a semicolon because there's another topic to this.
yeah.
Before you leave these good Delaware soils, what I want to say to you, and this is specifically to you, and this better make the cut. It has been such a pleasure to get to know you and to be in community with you. And I started this conversation saying that when I saw you, and
Yeah.
I don't say this to everyone, when I saw you, there was something about you in that room that made me gravitate towards you. And actually hearing your words of just encouragement actually gave me the piece that I needed to just move forward with the next step. I say this because there are few people that I have met that have both just exude the energy, but as a good person. Like we didn't even so many conversations that I've had with you and so many conversations that I've had with you that have gone deeper beyond the surface of just like, hey girl, how you doing? And I'll never forget, you told me this, and I remember this when we ask people, you had said something to me once. It was like some people don't ask how you're doing or ask because they know they have the responsibility to take in whatever the other person says. You shared that
Yeah.
with me, and I was probably there. We had a 2 hour conversation, but the depthness, your faith, your love for Delaware, your love for people, you're being very clear about who you are and the journey that you had to go through and the decisions that you had to make that you've had to make both as a mother and as a human. It has been a short period of time, but I am better because I know you. And I could like when I was thinking about, talking to you and I've admired the podcast, right? I was like, man, like God spoke to me that day. God was like, you have to email Adam on today, right? And just, or not email, I think I texted you, right? And was like, you need to talk to her. I had no idea that this was going to be your last podcast. I had no idea that we'd end up talking about this shared thing that we have in motherhood. But I don't want to miss the opportunity to say that, girl, you are a blessing. And I am so excited about your next chapter.
Thank
Texas is
you.
lucky. We will miss you deeply, but we also know that you are not far away. And the way the world is, we can stay
Yes.
connected. But thank you for being you and for this platform that you have given so many of us to share. Thank you, girl.
Thank you. you. I appreciate you so much for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys, like I said, it's just y'all make it easy.
Yeah.
Just be able to pour into and be poured into. I have
Yeah.
absolutely learned that love is about reciprocity.
Yeah.
And there have been times in my life where love to me looked like earning validation or earning worth, which is not love. That is something
Right.
very different. And
Another podcast.
as the day. Love is about absolute reciprocity. And so if I have shown you love in any way, it has absolutely been reciprocal that we
Yes.
have shown each other. And so I am just as thankful for you to be a vessel that I can pour into, but
Yeah.
also for you to be a vessel to pour into me. So I love you. Thank you.
Love you
Thank you
too.
for that.
I love you
Thank
too.
you. Okay. So final thoughts.
Final
Listen, final
thoughts.
what is, and we'll keep it to, I'll give you the choice, right? That you can either do it just life in general or very specifically about motherhood.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do it a little different for you. What is the one most life-changing piece of advice that has ever been given to you, either about
Mm.
life in general or about motherhood specifically?
There are more people cheering for you and loving you and wanting to see you win, um, than there are naysayers. And I
Yeah,
think that so many times in life where like you can be judged or people don't understand, right? Or you may be going through a difficult time. And so you're sitting in the difficulty because difficulty doesn't feel good in your body. But if you actually can turn and think about the overwhelming, and I don't it I'm not these are for not everyone has a huge village, right? Like it could be your one or two people, or it could be
right.
a stranger that you met who just said hello to you and saw your smile, or you held a
Yeah,
door open. There are more people who are cheering for you than
yeah.
there are hating on you, I guess is the
That's
word that I would choose. Um, that has been something that I've shared with people and something that I truly feel like God first, God has truly, He has shown me some things. And when I have
only though.
trusted Him, honestly, it is, we talk all the time.
Yeah,
But when I think about people who just truly love you and want to see you win, there's so much more of that. So
yeah.
that is probably maybe not the most life-changing advice, but it is something
Damn, that
that
is
has
life changing.
come when it is the first thing that came to mind. Yeah, that's what I got.
Well, but the first thing that came to mind is because somebody needed to hear it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you said it's not the most life changing, but it is. Sometimes it's not about the thing, it's about believing the thing.
yeah,
And believing the thing is the most life changing. When you can believe that more people are for me than against me,
yeah,
that opens up courage, that opens up vulnerability, that
yeah.
opens up so many things that
It
are
does.
absolutely. So yeah, girl, listen, don't say that's not the
Yeah,
most. Yes, ma'am.
we gonna take it. We gonna take it.
Yes, ma'am. We gonna take it. Thank you again.
Thank
Listen,
you.
again to my Delaware family. You are forever, ever in my heart, a part of my journey. I love you so much. I hope that you stick with me, that as I move into this chapter of being in Texas, that you just come right along. We
Right,
keeping the party going, just in a
keep it
different
going.
place. Happy Mother's Day to every mother out there in whatever capacity, even if it's in just in your heart,
Yep,
right? Your desire to become a mother, you're working towards it. You have a mothering spirit.
yep.
Happy Mother's Day
Happy Mother's
to
Day.
you. Enjoy your day. Give yourself grace, self care, walk in the joy of the day and of the celebration. And Tamara, thank you again so much for spending time with me today and for putting a beautiful, beautiful period on the end of a lovely sentence. So thank you.
Thank you,
Love you.
Autumn. Love you too.
Bye bye.